Hello everyone and welcome to Fear Factor, the show where we rank your favourite horror movies and games on a fear scale to determine how effectively they scare us. I'm your host Luke, and today we'll be going over the OG meta horror film from 1996, Scream. Written and directed by Wes Craven. This is one of my all-time favourite horror movies because of how much it stands out from the other movies in the genre. So that's why it's getting the honour of being covered first in this series. Scream is a movie that not only revitalised the horror genre, but also gave us some of the most memorable one-liners in cinematic history. I mean, who can forget?
You like scary movies?
Or,
I'll be right back!
and don't forget.
Fucking hit me with the phone, Dick!
Sorry, spoiler alert. Anyway, with that being said, roll the titles. Scream is a classic example of the slasher genre, with a self-awareness that sets it apart from other horror films in the genre. The movie follows a group of high school students who are targeted by a masked killer known as Ghostface. The opening sequence with Tara Carpenter, played by Jenna Ortega. Wait, no, that's a sequel with the same name. The opening scene with Casey Becker, played by Drew Barrymore, is one of the most iconic horror movie moments of all time. It sets the tone for the rest of the movie, with its use of suspense and tension. The way the camera lingers on the backyard is incredibly effective, as it makes the viewers think that Ghostface is lurking somewhere in the shadows, which adds to the sense of the danger that she is in. The soundtrack for Scream, composed by Marco Beltrami, plays a key role in creating tension throughout the movie. The use of discordant strings and eerie piano melodies adds an extra layer of unease to the already suspenseful scenes. The opening sequence is particularly effective thanks to the use of a haunting choir that swells as the tension builds. The music throughout the movie helps to establish the mood and atmosphere, making it even easier for the audience to get sucked into the story and feel the fear that the characters are experiencing. The film, of course, features the occasional jump scare throughout, which constantly keeps you on edge with sudden jolts and startling moments. Example of this is when we first see the iconic Ghostface mask appear in the window during the opening sequence, and various moments of Ghostface appearing indoors, jumping out of cupboards, and even Dewey holding up the mask as Sydney opens the door. All these scares are accompanied by a high-pitched sound effect, because it just wouldn't be a jump scare without one. While Scream is not necessarily a movie that relies heavily on gore, it does have its fair share of gruesome moments. One of the most memorable scenes in this regard is when Casey Becker's boyfriend, Steve, is gutted whilst tied to a chair, which is revealed when Casey turns on the lights. The camera doesn't shy away from showing the grisly aftermath of the attack, with Steve's insides spilling out for all to see. Similarly, the scene where Casey herself is hanged from a tree is disturbingly graphic, accompanied by a blood-curdling scream from her mother, and a dramatic zoom towards her body. Even the seemingly innocuous garage door scene involving Tatum becomes gruesome when she's eventually crushed to death, her mangled body shown in a disturbingly realistic way. While the movie doesn't rely solely on gore to create scares, these moments do add to the overall tension and unease felt throughout the film. The cinematography and editing in Scream are top notch, with director Wes Craven expertly building tension and suspense in each scene. And of course, the performances from the cast, including the iconic trio, Sidney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell, Gail Weathers, played by Courtney Cox, and Dewey Riley, played by David Arquette, are unforgettable. The characters in the movie are all archetypes that we've seen before, but they're self-aware in their roles. Sydney is the final girl, Billy is the suspicious boyfriend, and Stu is the funny best friend. But even though they're playing into these tropes, the actors still manage to make them feel fresh and new. What makes this movie so effective is its ability to subvert the audience's expectations and keep us guessing until the very end. The movie constantly throws red herrings at the audience, making it difficult to predict who the killer might be. The scene of Randy in the video store is a great example of this. As he explains the rules of horror movies, we're led to believe that any of the characters could be the killer. And of course, we can't forget the movie's final reveal. The twist that Billy, played by Skeet Ulrich, and Stu, played by Matthew Lillard, are the killers is a shocker that still holds up today. The way the movie lays clues and misdirection throughout the plot is masterful, and the final reveal is a satisfying payoff. So, on our fear scale of 10, where does Scream rank? Its use of suspense and tension and misdirection are expertly crafted, and the self-awareness adds an extra layer of enjoyment. While it might not be one of the most scariest movies out there, it's definitely one of the most iconic. However, I wouldn't say it's as scary for a modern day audience as it probably was back in 1996. So for that reason, I'm giving Scream a solid 4 out of 10 on our fear scale. But that's not to say it's a bad movie, and I would 100% recommend it. Thanks for watching this episode of Fear Factor. Be sure to tune in next time as we review and critique more horror movies and games to determine just how scared they make us. And remember, if you hear a strange noise in your house, it's probably just your cat. Or is it?